The great hall of the Galactic Council was filled with cold blue light. Thousands of glowing panels floated in the air, each showing the symbols of different alien species. Soldiers stood like statues around the room, their armor shining. In the center of the hall stood a single figure, a human man named Ethan Ward. His wrists locked in heavy metal cuffs, his head bowed but eyes sharp. Every seat in the chamber was taken. Aliens of all kinds leaned forward, whispering, pointing, glaring. Some looked disgusted. Others looked afraid. A few looked ready to see blood. The announcer's voice echoed across the hall. Case number 77X. Ethan Ward, human pilot. Charged with violating restricted space, destroying an alien vessel, and causing political conflict between two star systems. The crowd hissed and murmured. Ethan remained silent. His clothes were torn from the day he was arrested, and his face carried the tired marks of a man who had been awake far too long. But his eyes stayed steady. In his mind, he kept repeating the same words. I just tried to help. Why won't anyone listen? The chief judge entered, the tallest alien in the hall, with silver skin and 4 long arms. His voice rumbled like thunder. Ethan Ward, do you understand the charges brought against you? I understand them, Ethan answered, but I didn't do the things they're saying. The judge struck the staff against the ground. Your actions caused the death of a royal transport ship. Ethan shook his head. No, I responded to a distress call. I was trying to save. Enough. The judge's glare was sharp. Humans always give excuses. A wave of laughter passed through the hall. Ethan felt anger rise in his chest but forced himself to stay calm. If he spoke too strongly, they would call him aggressive. If he stayed too quiet, they would call him guilty. It seemed there was no way to win. A small floating drone projected a recording of a fiery explosion in space. The alien crowd gasped. The judge turned toward the hall. Here is our proof. The human arrived near the ship moments before it was destroyed. Ethan clenched his fists. That video is cut. It does not show what happened before. What happened before? A council member mocked. You humans simply break rules and then pretend to be heroes. Ethan exhaled slowly. He had faced danger many times before, but this was different. This was a room full of people who had already decided his fate. The judge raised his staff again. The punishment for your crime is death by disintegration. The execution will be carried out now. Gasps filled the chamber. Ethan's heartbeat slowed. So this was it. No trial. No chance to explain. No chance to show the truth. He lifted his eyes toward the shining ceiling and whispered to himself, I'm sorry. I couldn't save them. As the guards stepped forward, the room fell silent. Even the floating lights dimmed. Ethan inhaled deeply. He was afraid, but he wouldn't show it. He stood tall, refusing to bow to their hatred. The judge began the final words of the execution order. By the authority of the Galactic Council, you... A sharp, piercing scream tore through the hall. Stop! Don't kill him! Every head turned. The guards froze. The judge's staff stopped mid-air. At the far end of the chamber, pushing through soldiers and knocking over officials, a young alien woman stumbled forward. Her skin glowed with pale purple light, her eyes wide with panic, and her clothes torn from long travel. She fell to her knees, gasping for breath. Ethan blinked in shock. He knew that face. He had seen those eyes before, in a burning forest, on a freezing night, when he carried her to safety. Lyra, he whispered, but the girl didn't look at him yet. She stared directly at the judge, tears streaming down her cheeks. You cannot kill him, she cried. He is not a criminal. He is my... A guard grabbed her arm. Silence. You cannot speak during sentencing. Lyra jerked her arm free with surprising strength. He is my husband. The chamber erupted. Gasps, shouts, disbelief. A council member choked. Impossible. Her species does not marry humans. Humans are forbidden. She lies to distract us. Another shouted. But Lyra's voice trembled with truth. He saved me. He saved my people. He risked his own life for strangers. And your council did nothing. Her words echoed like fire cracking through ice. Ethan felt his breath stop. Husband? She knew the meaning of that word in her culture. It wasn't casual. It wasn't symbolic. It was the highest vow her species could give, an oath that could override even their government. The judge slammed his staff. Bring her forward. If she speaks a sacred bond, we must hear it. Lyra was dragged to the center. She looked up at Ethan at last, her eyes full of fear and hope at the same time. Ethan, she whispered, I told you. I would come back for you. His heart twisted. He didn't understand everything, but he knew one thing. Lyra had just risked her entire life to save him. The judge leaned forward. Girl, explain yourself. Why did you call this human your husband? Lyra lifted her chin, her voice steady despite her shaking body. Because it is true, she said. And if he dies, your council will be responsible for killing the greatest hero I have ever known. The hall went silent, so silent that even the lights seemed to stop moving. And Ethan realized the impossible. His fate had just changed. Not because of the law, but because one alien girl refused to let him die. Ethan Ward stood frozen, staring at Lyra as the entire Galactic Council chamber erupted into noise. Some aliens shouted that she was lying. Others demanded her arrest. A few, shocked into silence, simply watched her trembling form. Lyra ignored all of them. Her focus stayed only on Ethan. The chief judge finally struck his staff on the floor. Silence, the chamber will remain in order. Slowly, the noise faded. Only the echo of the staff remained. The judge's voice was stern. Young one, if you speak falsely, your punishment will be severe. Bond claims are sacred in your culture. Explain how this human became your partner. Lyra swallowed hard. Her hands shook, but her voice did not. It began on the night our ships were attacked. I was on the refugee shuttle that sent out a distress signal. No one heard it. No one, except him. The crowd murmured. Ethan closed his eyes. So she remembered everything. Lyra continued, speaking loudly so every judge could hear. Our shuttle was carrying civilians, children, elders, and patients. We were fleeing war. But pirates ambushed us. They fired until our engines exploded. We were falling toward a dead planet. She paused, her breath catching. The memory hurt her. And then, she whispered, Ethan Ward appeared. The judge raised an eyebrow. The human claims he crossed into restricted space because he sensed danger. That is not a valid reason. Lyra shook her head. He didn't sense danger. He heard our emergency signal. Your council says no human can decode our frequency, but they are wrong. He somehow understood it. He came alone, in a small ship, knowing he might not survive. Ethan felt the eyes of the entire hall turn to him again. He didn't move. He remembered that night clearly. The blinking red light, the unreadable message. His instinct pushing him to answer anyway. He didn't know why, he just knew he had to. Lyra continued, her voice firmer now. When he reached us, our shuttle was burning. The fire was spreading fast, and we were trapped. He used his ship to block the flames, crashing into our hull on purpose to save us. The hall fell silent. Even the judge leaned forward slightly. Lyra's hands tightened around her dress. He didn't attack us. He protected us. The judge asked coldly, if he saved your shuttle, why does the evidence show an explosion at the scene? Lyra closed her eyes, forcing herself to relive it. Because the pirates came back, she said softly. They followed his beacon. They wanted to finish the attack. Ethan tried to warn the shuttle pilot, but we had lost communication. So he rammed his own ship into the pirate missile, taking the full impact. A ripple of shock went through the room. He destroyed their weapon, not our ship, Lyra said. The explosion you show in the recording is incomplete. It hides the truth. He saved us all. The judge turned to Ethan. Is this true? Ethan spoke quietly. Yes, but I didn't know anyone survived. When backup arrived, I was blamed for the wreckage. Lyra nodded. We survived because of him. He carried unconscious children from the burning cabin. He dragged me out with his own hands, even when he could barely walk. Ethan felt heat rise behind his eyes. He remembered carrying her, her skin burning with fever, her breathing weak. He remembered telling her she would be safe. He didn't know she'd ever wake again. Lyra lifted her face to the crowd. He didn't want reward. He didn't even wait for thanks. He asked only one thing, "Are you alive?" And when I said yes, he smiled and collapsed. The hall grew silent. Not one alien whispered. Lyra's next words were soft but strong. And then your patrol ships arrived. Instead of helping him, they arrested him. They claimed he destroyed our vessel. They didn't even let me speak. Her voice shook with anger. He saved us, and you called him a criminal. Ethan felt a knot in his chest. He had thought she forgot him, that her people rejected his help. But now he saw the truth. She had been fighting for him since that day. The judge tapped his staff slowly. This is a serious accusation against the Galactic Patrol. Lyra nodded without fear. I know. And I have proof. You tried to hide the real recording, but I escaped my guardians and stole the original file. Gasps filled the hall. Even Ethan stared at her in disbelief. Lyra reached into her small satchel and lifted a glowing data crystal. This contains the true evidence, she said, holding it high. The humans saved us. The pirates attacked. The explosion was their weapon, not his action. And your patrol knows it. The judge's cold eyes narrowed. Bring the crystal to the center. Lyra stepped forward. Her legs were shaking, but her spirit was unbroken. Ethan's heart pounded. If the crystal really held the truth, everything could change. The judge took it, held it against the scanner, and the room waited silent, breathless. Ethan stood tall. Lyra stood stronger, and the secrets of that night were about to be revealed. Asterisk. The chamber lights dimmed as the judge pressed the crystal into the projector slot. A soft hum filled the air, and then a large hologram rose above the council floor. It showed the real footage of that terrible night, but before the recording could play fully, Ethan's mind drifted back to the moment he first saw her. The night they met. The memory returned as clear as fire. The air around the burning shuttle was thick with smoke. Ethan's ship had crashed beside it, leaving him dazed and half-buried under shattered metal. His ears rang. His vision blurred. His ribs burned with every breath, but he forced himself up. Screams echoed from the shattered alien vessel. Small fires licked the edges of fallen beams. Sparks burst from broken wires. The entire structure creaked like it would collapse any second. Ethan staggered toward the noise. Is anyone alive? He shouted. No one answered. He crawled through a cracked doorway and felt scorching heat hit his face. The hallway was filled with black smoke. He wrapped his torn jacket around his mouth and pushed forward. A tiny voice reached him, soft, weak, almost lost beneath the fire. Help, please. Ethan froze. He turned toward the sound, kicking away debris. He lifted a fallen beam and found a small alien child trapped beneath it. The child's skin glowed faintly blue, his eyes wide with fear. You're okay, Ethan whispered. I've got you. He lifted the beam with all his strength. His muscles screamed, but he didn't stop. The child crawled into his arms. Ethan carried him out and laid him on the cold ground outside. Before he could catch his breath, he heard another voice, this one older. Filled with pain, he ran back inside. The fire was spreading faster now. The ceiling shook with each step. He followed the voice down another corridor, stumbling as smoke thickened. He found an elderly alien woman trying to pull a young girl free from under collapsed metal. The girl's skin had a pale purple glow. Her hair stuck to her face, her breathing uneven, eyes half open. Ethan knelt beside them. "I'll help." The woman looked terrified. She had never seen a human so close. What are you doing here?" "Saving you," Ethan said simply. He pushed against the metal trapping the girl. His arms trembled. Sparks burned his hands. Heat scorched his skin. But he didn't stop until the broken frame finally shifted. The girl slid free into his arms. He lifted her gently. Her head rested against his shoulder, her breath soft and weak. Her heartbeat felt faint, barely there. "Stay with me," he whispered. Her eyelids fluttered. She looked at him, confused, afraid. But something in her softened, as if she sensed he meant no harm. Then everything collapsed. The entire shuttle groaned. The walls bent inward. Ethan barely managed to shield the girl as a wave of heat exploded behind him. He ran. He didn't think about himself. He didn't think about danger. He only thought of the fragile girl in his arms. He burst out through a melted doorway just as fire roared behind him. He fell to his knees on the ground outside, coughing, holding her close. She was alive. Barely, but alive. The elderly woman crawled out behind them. Why would a human help us?" she whispered. Ethan didn't answer. He didn't have the strength. His vision darkened at the edges. The girl in his arms whispered something, so soft he almost didn't hear it. "You came for us," her voice shook. Her eyes closed again. "You're safe now," Ethan murmured, brushing soot from her face. Suddenly, the night sky lit up. A second explosion shook the ground. Ethan shielded the girl again as debris rained down. The pirates had returned. Missiles streaked across the sky, heading for the shuttle remains. Ethan looked up. No, not again. He stood with the girl still in his arms. His legs shook under him. He knew his ship was nearly useless, but he had one more emergency charge left, just enough to intercept a missile. He placed the girl behind a large metal plate to shield her and sprinted to his broken ship. He powered the single remaining thruster, aimed it at the incoming missile, and slammed the ignition. The ship shot forward straight into the missile's path. A blinding explosion lit the night. Heat waves rolled across the ground. Ethan was thrown back, crashing into the dirt. When he opened his eyes, everything was blurry. He saw the girl crawling toward him, trying to reach him despite her injuries. Her hand touched his shoulder. "You saved me." Ethan smiled faintly. "As long as you're alive, that's enough." And he passed out, his hand still resting near hers. Back in the council chamber, Ethan blinked as the memory faded and the hologram resumed. Lyra stood tall beside the judge, her voice steady. "That was the night he saved my life. The night we met. And the night I realized humans are not what the galaxy thinks." The hall was silent, and Ethan understood. This was only the beginning. The hologram faded, but Ethan's mind stayed locked in the memory of that night. The night he and Lyra survived together, stranded on the abandoned planet with no rescue in sight. Ethan woke slowly, his body aching and head pounding. Cold wind brushed his face. When he opened his eyes, he wasn't lying on scorched metal anymore. Instead, he was under the open sky, stars shining like scattered diamonds. Someone was sitting beside him. "Finally," Lyra whispered. Her voice was weak but filled with relief. "You are awake," Ethan blinked. Lyra was wrapped in a torn blanket, her arm bandaged with strips of his own shirt. She had placed a piece of cloth under his head like a pillow. Her clothes were dirty, her hair messy, but her eyes were warm. "Where are the others?" Ethan asked. "They didn't make it." "Only we two survived the final blast." Lyra lowered her gaze. "I buried them." Ethan's heart tightened. She had survived unimaginable pain, yet she had still taken care of him. "How long was I unconscious?" he asked. "Almost a full cycle," she replied. "I thought you were dying." Ethan attempted to sit, but pain shot through his ribs. Lyra steadied him gently. "You shouldn't move too much," she said softly. "You broke 2 ribs, and your shoulder is injured." Ethan looked at her hand resting lightly on his arm. "You took care of me?" Lyra nodded. "You saved my life. It was the least I could do." The planet around them was silent, covered in ash and broken trees. The fires had died down. Only cold wind remained, sweeping across the empty land. Their crashed ships were destroyed beyond repair. "Is help coming?" Ethan asked. Lyra shook her head. "No signal goes out from here. The pirates jammed everything before they escaped." "So it's just us," Ethan whispered. "Yes," Lyra said, staring up at the stars. "Just us." Ethan glanced at her. She was shivering. He removed his half-burned jacket and placed it around her shoulders. She froze, confused. "Humans. Get cold too, don't they?" "Yeah," Ethan said with a tired smile. "But you're colder." Lyra lowered her head, touched by his kindness. Hours passed. Night deepened. A faint glow from the ruins lit their surroundings. Ethan and Lyra sat close beside the broken hull to block the wind. After a long silence, Lyra spoke. "In my culture, when someone saves your life, you owe them a vow." Her voice softened. "A promise under the stars." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "A vow? What kind?" "A life bond." She looked at the sky, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "It means you become part of their destiny. You protect them, honor them, and walk beside them, no matter the danger." Ethan felt warmth spread in his chest, but he also felt confused. "That sounds serious." "I don't want you to feel forced." Lyra shook her head. "I am not forced. I choose it. Twice you risked your life for me. Twice you could have died. My people believe that if someone saves you 2 times, they become someone very important." Ethan laughed softly. "Important how?" Lyra looked at him with a strange tenderness in her eyes. "Important like family." Ethan swallowed. He didn't know what to say. They had met only hours ago, yet they had survived fire, explosions, and death together. Trauma had tied their stories together in a way normal life never could. Lyra continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "You might not understand my traditions, but I must honor them, and I must honor you." She took a deep breath. "Ethan, look at the sky." He did. The stars stretched endlessly above them. Cold wind blew softly, carrying dust but also a quiet peace. Lyra placed her hand over her heart. "I vow that I will stand with you, even if the galaxy does not." Ethan looked at her, stunned. "Lyra, you don't have to do this." "I want to," she said firmly. "Because that night, when you lifted the metal from me, when you shielded me from the blast, I thought I would die. But then you carried me. You whispered that I was safe. No one has ever done that for me." Her voice broke slightly. "And even now, when you gave me your jacket, it reminded me that not all species fear us, not all species hate us." Ethan felt emotion rise in his throat. "You'd have done the same for me." Lyra smiled softly. "Maybe, but you did it first." The wind grew cold. Lyra shivered again. Ethan wrapped the blanket tighter around her. She moved closer, their shoulders touching. They stayed like that, leaning against each other, warmed not by fire, but by the strange bond forming between them. A bond of survival, of trust, of fate. Lyra looked at him again. "One day, my people will ask me if I made this vow, and I will tell them the truth." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Which is?" She whispered gently, "That a human saved my life and became a part of my destiny." Back in the council chamber, Lyra finished her story, her voice steady. "That is the promise we made," she said. "And I will not let the galaxy punish the man who kept me alive." The hall remained silent, but the silence was beginning to shift. Asterisk, the hologram flickered away, leaving the council chamber wrapped in heavy silence. Every judge, every guard, every alien spectator watched Lyra, as if seeing her for the first time. Her voice, steady and brave, had shaken the entire hall, but Ethan knew the truth didn't end there, and neither did the danger. After the night they survived together, Ethan and Lyra spent 3 long days on the dead planet. The nights were freezing. The days were scorching. Food was almost gone, and water was running out. Ethan's ribs hurt with every step, and Lyra's fever grew worse. Still they kept each other alive. On the 3rd day, Lyra saw movement in the sky. "Ships," she whispered, pointing. Ethan shielded his eyes. 3 patrol vessels were descending. Their glowing engines lit the barren land. Relief washed over him. "We're saved," he said with a tired smile. Lyra didn't smile back. Something felt wrong. The ships landed in a perfect triangle. Surrounding them, armed soldiers poured out. Their armor bore the emblem of the Galactic Patrol, but their rifles were raised not in protection, but in threat. "Put your hands where we can see them," a commander shouted. Ethan frowned, confused. "We're survivors. These people need medical help." "Drop your weapon," another soldier yelled. "I don't have a weapon," Ethan replied. The commander marched forward, helmet reflecting the dim sunlight. He pointed directly at Ethan. "You are under arrest." Lyra gasped. "What? Why?" "For attacking an alien shuttle, trespassing into restricted space, and destroying a vessel belonging to a protected species," the commander replied. Ethan stared in disbelief. "That's not true. I answered their distress call." The commander didn't care. "Take him." Half the soldiers grabbed Ethan, slamming him to the ground. Pain shot through his broken ribs. Lyra rushed forward. "Stop. Don't hurt him. He saved us." A soldier pushed her back. "Stay out of this," Ethan yelled. "She's telling the truth." The commander looked at Lyra coldly. "You are injured. Your memory might be damaged. Your testimony is invalid." Lyra shook her head furiously. "No, he risked his life for us. Your data is wrong." But they ignored her. They always ignored her. Ethan was lifted roughly and dragged toward one of the ships. Lyra tried to run to him again until a guard blocked her with a rifle. "He saved my life," she cried. "He saved all of us." The commander turned to a medic. "Take the girl. Treat her injuries, then send her to her colony elders. They will know how to handle her delusions." Delusions. The word broke something inside Lyra. As they separated her from Ethan, she screamed his name. "Ethan, I'll find you. I promise." He looked back at her even as the soldiers forced him forward. "Lyra, don't stop fighting. Tell them the truth." Then the ship doors slammed shut. Darkness, cold metal cuffs. A silent cell. Ethan had been rescued, but not as a hero. As a prisoner, back in the council chamber, Lyra's voice trembled as she revealed what happened next. "When I woke in the patrol med bay, my elders were waiting. They were angry I survived with a human. They told me to forget him. They said he was dangerous. They said he harmed our people." She shook her head, holding back tears. "But I knew the truth. I knew what he did. And when I asked about Ethan, they said he was already sentenced, executed, gone." Gasps filled the hall. Lyra looked directly at Ethan. "I believed you were dead." Ethan swallowed hard. "Lyra, I thought you left me. They said your people blamed me and refused to speak." "I didn't leave," she whispered. "They kept me locked away. They told me lies. They hid every report. They hid everything." One judge leaned forward. "If what you say is true, why would the patrol fabricate evidence?" Lyra's eyes flashed with anger. "Because admitting a human saved us would embarrass the council. Because our region was under strict political pressure. Because they needed someone to blame for the loss of our shuttle, and Ethan was the easiest target." The judge tapped his staff thoughtfully. Lyra continued. Voice trembling with emotion. The day I found the hidden report, the real one, I escaped my elders. I stole a trade ship and traveled alone across 7 systems to reach this council. I risked my life because he risked his. Ethan stared at her, stunned. You crossed 7 systems alone, Lyra? You could have died. I would rather die, she said softly, than let you die for a crime you didn't commit. Her words hit Ethan like a pulse of heat. He felt something inside him shift, something he had buried under months of pain and betrayal. Lyra turned to the council. You punished the wrong person. And if you continue, the galaxy will remember this moment as your greatest injustice. Silence swallowed the room. Then the chief judge slowly rose. Bring forth the recovered data crystal. We will review the unedited recording. Every alien held their breath, because the truth, the real truth, was about to decide Ethan Ward's fate. Asterisk. The council chamber darkened again as the judge inserted Lyra's stolen data crystal into the central projector. A soft hum filled the hall. The air felt heavier, as if every species present was holding its breath. For the first time, the council would see what actually happened. The hologram flickered. Then came alive. It showed Ethan's ship diving through fire, pushing debris aside, and shielding the alien shuttle with its hull. It showed the pirates firing missiles. It showed Ethan ramming his ship into the incoming blast. And finally, it showed him dragging unconscious survivors away from the flames. Gasps spread across the chamber. Some aliens covered their mouths. A few even stood in shock. The hologram ended. Silence followed, the kind that carried weight, the kind that meant truths were no longer avoidable. The chief judge leaned back slowly. This recording contradicts the official report entirely. Lyra took a step forward. That is because the official report was made to protect the patrol from shame. They blamed Ethan to hide their failure. A council member stood. This is impossible. A human cannot decode our distress signals. They cannot enter our protected territory without authorization. Lyra's voice didn't shake. Just because something has never happened before doesn't mean it cannot happen now. Ethan looked at her, stunned again by her courage. Another judge spoke up. Girl, you claim you stole this recording from your own people. Lyra nodded. Double quotes. Explain how you acquired it. Lyra closed her eyes briefly, as if steadying herself before revealing the darkest part of her journey. After being taken by the patrol, Lyra had been returned to her home colony. But instead of healing, she was imprisoned, kept in a medical room with sealed doors and 2 guards outside. Her elders visited her every day. They never asked how she felt. They asked only one thing. Did you speak to the human? Did he touch you? Did he influence you? Lyra gave the same answer each time. He saved me. And each time, their faces darkened. One evening, Lyra overheard them through the door. We cannot let this spread, whispered an elder. If the council learns she bonded with a human, our entire culture will be humiliated. She is confused, another replied. The human must be blamed. It is easier, simpler. Lyra pressed her ear to the door and heard words that shattered her heart. Tell the patrol to send the execution notice. Say the human is dead. There will be no more questions. She fell to her knees. They were killing him. The man who saved her. The man who carried her through fire. The man who gave her hope. Lyra's hands shook as the memory hit her again. In the chamber, she continued her story. I could not stay silent. So that night, when the guards changed shift, I broke out. The council listened closely. Lyra described how she had slipped through the ventilation shafts of her colony's medical wing, bruising her arms and legs, crawling in total darkness. She reached the archive room where all communication logs were stored. Inside, she found 2 files with Ethan's name. One said, "Execution ordered." The second said, "Do not show to public classified." Lyra's hands trembled as she continued. The classified file was a full recording of the attack. It showed Ethan saving us. It proved the patrol lied. She slid the crystal into her bag, tears burning her eyes. She knew the punishment for stealing sacred records. She knew she would be exiled, maybe executed, but she didn't care. She ran. She slipped through docking tunnels and climbed onto a cargo ship as it was leaving the planet. She hid between metal crates, shivering from fear and cold. She didn't eat for 2 days. When the ship stopped at a trade station, she stole a smaller craft and continued her journey alone, across 7 dangerous systems. Her voice cracked as she said, "All I had was that crystal, and the vow I made to him." Ethan felt his throat tighten. "Lyra, you risked everything." She nodded slowly. "I broke the law. I betrayed my elders. I went against my people. But I would do it again. Because if I didn't, a hero would be dead." Her words echoed through the hall like a battle cry. The council looked shaken. One judge finally leaned forward, speaking quietly. "Ethan Ward, do you confirm her story?" Ethan's voice was soft but unbroken. "Every word. I thought I was saving strangers. I didn't know I was saving someone who would fight for me harder than I ever fought for myself." Lyra lowered her eyes. "I fight because you fought first." A heavy silence landed over everyone. The chief judge stood. "A grave mistake has been made. The Galactic Patrol must answer for this." But before he could declare Ethan innocent, the doors of the council chamber suddenly flew open. A squad of armored soldiers stormed inside. The symbol on their armor was unmistakable. The Galactic Patrol had come, not to confess, but to silence the truth, and Ethan and Lyra were now directly in their path. Asterisk. The chamber doors slammed open with a metallic crash. Every head turned. A full squad of Galactic Patrol soldiers marched inside, weapons drawn. Boots thundering against the marble floor. Gasps echoed through the hall. The patrol commander, the same man who arrested Ethan on the dead planet, stepped forward. His armor gleamed under the council lights. A cold smile twisted his lips. "Chief Judge," he said loudly, "you must end this hearing, immediately." The judge narrowed his eyes. "On what authority do you interrupt a trial of the council?" The commander raised a data pad. "On direct order from the Patrol High Command. The human prisoner is to be transferred into our custody for immediate disposal." Shock rippled across the audience. Lyra stepped in front of Ethan, her body trembling but fearless. "No, you cannot take him. The council has seen the truth." The commander sneered. "The truth is what we decide, not a confused girl who broke sacred laws." Ethan clenched his fists. "You lied. You tried to bury the evidence. And now you want to bury me." The commander didn't deny it. His silence was confirmation enough that the chief judge struck his staff hard. "Patrol commander, you are out of line. The evidence proves." The commander raised his rifle toward the judge. Gasps erupted. Several judges stood in outrage. Guards fluttered forward, raising shields. The entire chamber shifted from a courtroom to a battlefield in seconds. Lyra grabbed Ethan's arm. "We have to move." Ethan shook his head. "No, running will prove them right." But soldiers were advancing from all sides, forming a circle. Lyra's breath trembled. "They will kill you. I can't lose you again." Ethan looked into her eyes, fear, fire, love, loyalty, all mixed together. He stepped slightly in front of her. The commander's voice boomed. "Take the human. Kill the girl if she resists." Ethan felt something snap inside him. "You touch her," he said. "And I swear, human or not, I will not go quietly." The soldiers raised their rifles, but before they could fire, the chief judge gave an unexpected order. "Activate the truth sphere." A blinding orb of golden light exploded above the chamber. Dozens of glowing threads shot down, attaching to the soldiers' armor, their weapons, their data pads. The patrol commander froze. No, shut it down. The truth sphere pulsed, every hidden file, every command, every lie, every deleted video, every fake report. It all poured out into the hologram above. The chamber watched in stunned silence. The patrol delaying rescue on purpose. The pirates being allowed into restricted space. The order to blame Ethan to avoid political embarrassment. The command to execute him before an investigation. The elders ordering Lyra's silence. The patrol commander rewriting evidence. And worst of all, audio logs. Execute the human. Make sure the girl never speaks. Every word played out for thousands to hear. The patrol commander collapsed to his knees as guards swarmed him. No, this is illegal. The truth sphere is forbidden. The chief judge glared. You have broken laws greater than any forbidden tool can reveal. Lyra exhaled, her body trembling with relief and rage as she leaned into Ethan. It's over. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. Because you didn't give up. The chief judge raised his staff once more. Ethan Ward, human of Earth, you are innocent. And more than that, you are a hero. Applause burst across the chamber. Thousands of alien voices united. Some spectators even stood in respect. Lyra turned to him, tears shining. I told you. I would come back for you. Ethan gave her a gentle smile. And you crossed half the galaxy to prove it. The judge spoke again. And Lyra of the Valyrian people, you have shown courage beyond measure. Your vow was true. Your heart was true. You will not be punished. Lyra gasped. You accept the vow? The judge nodded. Your bond with Ethan Ward is recognized by the Council under the ancient laws of alliance. If you choose, you may stand at his side. Lyra looked at Ethan, breathing softly. Do you want that? After everything? He didn't hesitate. I want whatever keeps us together. Her eyes warmed like starlight. Then we walked together. The council watched as Ethan took Lyra's hand, gently human and alien, two souls connected by fire, danger, and fate. The judge raised his staff one final time. Let the galaxy witness this moment. A human and a Valyrian united by courage. Not war. As the chamber erupted in cheers, Ethan whispered to Lyra, So, what now? Lyra smiled softly. We build a future neither of our worlds ever imagined. Together, hand in hand. They walked out of the council hall toward a horizon, where two species had finally taken their first step as one. Their story didn't end. It had just begun.